The opinions expressed by the host and guest on this program are solely their own and do not represent the views or opinions of Blind United. We strive to provide diverse perspectives and discussions on our platform, but the opinions expressed should be understood as personal viewpoints and not reflective of Blind United as an organization.
It's time. It's time for
coffee time.
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 And here is your coffee time crew.
Well, good Monday morning, everyone. And hey, coffee time with Blind United. We're back at you. Hope everybody enjoyed their weekend. We had a long one, of course. We had some technical difficulties for Wednesday, so I apologize for that. But we had already told you we wouldn't be here Thursday and Friday due to the CSUN conference out this way. So a lot of folks went over there and participated in that. I know Pedro did. But anyway, before we get into all of that, let me get into Carol. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, everyone.
And then we got my brother Pedro with us this morning on the crew. So
good morning, everybody. Happy Monday.
Yeah. So and then let's get this interest group out the way. Also, tonight is a very popular group, support group with Dominic Martin. And what do you say? What's tonight's man, I don't know how I forget this already. But anyway, he always comes up with some crazy topics. You remember what it is, Kel?
I honestly don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
But anyway, Dominic always makes you think. It's really, really, really a great group. So, again, if you want to hang out with some other blind folks and talk about life and how, the difference, again, we are humans, right? We're everyday people, but at the same time, we got to deal with this level of blindness that we all possess. And, a lot of his topics, okay, we get into the life aspect of it, but then we also touch on, the adjustments or whatever may need to be made due to our blindness or how it affects us, a little bit more or less or whatever the case may be. So always a really, really, really good group. So
and the topic is radical acceptance.
See that right there, radical acceptance. Oh Lord, that could go any kind of direction messing with Dominic.
Right.
So, but it always you can always guarantee it's going to be interesting. So, again, come on out, check us out tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and maybe you learn something new. If nothing else, you get to meet some more folks in the community, and interact with us, speak up if you wanted to, and listen in if that's what you prefer to do. So anyway, I myself personally, I'm still kind of, under the weather, recovering or whatever. I was in Anaheim, but I did not make it to the conference. So I don't know, Pedro, you want to take a couple minutes and talk about some interesting things you've seen?
Yeah. I seen some in CSUN, I seen some Braille printers that prints out Braille, also prints out raised images. In the same booth, I was checking out some Crayolas. They were for kids with Braille on them for the different colors and things like that. And they had images of Hello Kitty and other characters in a coloring book. And then
was the coloring book tactile?
Yes.
Okay, so they could stay inside the lines.
And
Yeah.
and then they had another booth similar to it, but this was more tailored for kids and stuff like that. They had a lot of different coloring books and stuff like that, so that was pretty dope in that aspect for children. We ran into the Amazon booth. Somebody needed help with the Amazon. I think I should have been working there, I guess. So That was some booths right there. They had the Sony, the Microsoft. I stopped at the Be My Eyes booth, talked to them a little bit about what they're doing and how they want to maintain their app to still be free with all these features coming up. So that was
Right.
pretty dope. An accessible e-reader, well, e-recorders, well, we will call the Victor Stream reader. They had them for seniors at a reasonable price. Solar power for $60.
Okay.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the Victor Stream averages about 500-600 bucks. I mean, if you get the Trekker on it, I think it can go up to like 800 or so.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that's great. I mean, just to be able to have something that you can read your books and stuff from, and
Yeah.
that other kind of good stuff, and record notes and messages and all that other kind of stuff. So that's really
Mm-hmm. And
all right.
also, got my hands on the glide. Got my hands on the glide. Was able to experience it up to 3 times.
Okay, well, and we're going to experience it again tomorrow, going to the demo days. So
Yes, that's true and correct.
yeah, so okay. Well, I mean, there was a lot of great stuff there. Every year, there's always a lot of great stuff at CSUN. So, I mean, if you're into Southern California, you know, during the month of March, they do this every year. The month of March, it's literally a conference for all assistive technology, not just for blind folks, but for all disabilities. I mean, they had people
Hmm.
in there with robotic legs,
Yes.
prostheses and stuff that you can get,
Hmm.
arms, all this other kind of stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
just a whole lot of wide range of assistive technology for the disabled community. It's always a great conference.
Hmm.
It goes on actually all week long. So they do seminars and stuff like that, per se, on a Monday. Tuesday, they do a little bit more, and then they do their where they actually, open the conference per se. And then
Hmm.
that's when they open up the exhibit hall on Tuesday night. And then the exhibit hall runs generally Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday morning. So
Yeah, I did
plenty
got
of
to.
opportunity.
Yeah, you're right. And I also got to experience the Echo Vision Pros. I didn't got
Okay.
to see the solo ones, but slick. They were not bulky. They
Right,
need to
right,
update their voice synthesizer for sure.
right.
But another different experience
Right,
besides the Meta Ray Bans. So that was pretty dope. That was pretty dope.
right.
And you-
Uh, okay, well, on that note, let's jump off into these articles. I'm down in the comments, so I can't remember what order I put them in, Pedro, but uh,
Los Angeles County diagnosed with a measles.
yeah,
Case.
I mean, what was it, a week or so ago, Carol? We was talking about how measles was down there with you in Texas.
Yes.
Well,
Yes. It's been
now
down
it's
here.
here in LA with us, but it didn't come from Texas. That's the crazy part. So,
Oh.
anyway, let's check this out. We'll talk about it for a few minutes on the other side.
Hey, Coffee Time crew. Let's talk about a recent public health alert that's made headlines right here in Los Angeles and what it means for all of us. A Los Angeles County resident has been diagnosed with measles after traveling internationally and arriving at LAX on March 5th, 2025. While one case may not sound like much, this highly contagious disease can spread quickly, and public health officials are urging caution. Where and when did exposure happen? The infected individual traveled on China Airlines flight CAL 8/CI8, arriving at the Tom Bradley International Terminal at LAX between 7 p.m. and 10:40 p.m. on March 5th. Since then, officials have confirmed 2 additional potential exposure sites. March 7th, Cloud 9 Nail Salon, 5142, North Lankershim Boulevard, North Hollywood. Alarm clock between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. March 10th, Superior Grocery Store, 10683, Valley Boulevard, El Monte. Alarm clock between 8:15 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. If you were in any of these locations during those windows, you may have been exposed. What is measles and why is it a big deal? Measles is an airborne virus that spreads through coughing, sneezing, or even just breathing in the same space as someone who is infected. The virus can linger in the air or on surfaces for up to 2 hours after the person has left. Symptoms usually appear 7 to 21 days after exposure and include high fever, cough and runny nose, red, watery eyes, a rash that starts on the face and spreads downward. For some, especially young children, pregnant individuals, and those with weakened immune systems, measles can lead to serious complications like pneumonia or brain swelling. What should you do? If you were at any of the exposure locations, here's what health officials recommend. Check your vaccination status. If you've received the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, and rubella, you're likely protected. Most people receive 2 doses during childhood. Watch for symptoms. Stay alert for the symptoms listed above. If you start to feel unwell, call your healthcare provider before showing up in person to prevent exposing others. Be extra cautious if you're high risk. Unvaccinated individuals, pregnant people, or those with compromised immune systems should contact a doctor immediately if they may have been exposed. The best defense? Vaccination. Public health officials are urging everyone to make sure they're up to date on their vaccinations. The MMR vaccine is safe, effective, and widely available. 2 doses provide 97% protection against measles. In a city as busy and interconnected as Los Angeles, even one case can become a community-wide concern if not handled swiftly and seriously. Fortunately, we have the tools to stop it, and it starts with being informed and prepared. What do you think? Were you surprised to hear measles is still a threat in the U.S.? Do you think we're doing enough to promote public health and vaccination awareness? And how can communities better prepare for outbreaks like this in the future? Join the conversation and share your thoughts. Now back to the coffee time crew.
Well, I got a doctor's appointment Friday. I'm definitely going to make sure I'm up to date on all my vaccinations because I'm not trying to mess with none of this stuff. Personally, I believe we could do more in, vaccination awareness and making sure that the facts are getting out there and not somebody else's propaganda. Vaccinations eliminated measles here in the United States at one point, okay, but due to all of the anti-vaxxer stuff that has happened throughout recent years, it's back, and also, we talk about this before, vaccinations, how when you leave the country, a lot of times you're going into other countries, you got to have certain vaccinations before you go into those countries. Well, it's almost starting to look like, well, maybe people need to have certain vaccinations before they come up in here, because this man, he came from, out of the United States and brought it in with him. Now, do I know he's connected to them other 2 sightings? No, I don't, but it just shows again that it's prevalent, so we got to do what we got to do to fight this stuff off, man. So, that's my take on it. Vaccinations, I'm with them. I'm good. I know there's people out there that don't, some for whatever reason, but I don't know. For me, they work. So, what's your thoughts, Carol?
I agree with you. Being vaccinated is the key, but what I did not hear in the article, unlike COVID, is will a mask protect you from, someone who's coughing and sneezing like it did with COVID, even having the vaccination. I did have a measles vaccination as a child, that was required before I could even go to school. We had a shot record, and if you were not up to par, you could not even attend school. But I did not hear the article mention that would a mask kind of protect you from someone who's coughing and sneezing. Me not being visual, I can't see if someone's covering their mouth or putting their face in their elbow when they sneeze. So,
Well, again, they did say it was airborne kind of thing, but at the same time, it can linger in an area where that infected person had been for hours.
Like
So I
TB.
mean, possible a mask would help. I would think, for those that are unvaccinated, you might want to put a mask on. Myself personally, again, yeah, we all had to get our vaccinations when we were kids, but man, again, I whatever I need to give now, I don't care. At my age, I'll give it to me. I mean, so again, I'm gonna make sure I'm up to date on all my vaccines when I go to the doctor on Friday because I definitely don't want any part of this. I mean, Pedro, I mean, they still get the kids. Your kids still have to get vaccinations when they go to school, right?
Yeah, some are required for certain grades. Like if you go to the seventh grade, the HPV is required and stuff like that.
Well, they had some get some even when they were in elementary, right? Just to be
Mm-hmm.
able to be in elementary. And as you get older, they give you different ones that are on that list. And
Yeah,
again, I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if they do it the same way now that they did when, like I
Well,
said, when I was younger. But my kids, I know we had a shot card,
yes,
and
there are some that are required from school, but also if you're in public assistance, there's other ones that they require you to get while being on receiving government assistance for your child.
that's smart. Why? Because it helps with the healthcare costs. If you're
Mm-hmm.
vaccinated, chances of you getting sick and being hospitalized for whatever one of these diseases, is minimized. So it makes
True.
perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. So, I mean, all I can say is, you know what, folks, do what you want to do. But again, for, public health, I mean, you really need to consider it. I'm 67 years old. Vaccines, they never did me no harm. Okay. So, and I've gotten every one that I needed to get. So, I know plenty of folks. I got family members in the military, and they talking about the whole regimen of vaccines that they had to take when they went overseas and stuff. Uh, I've talked with Jimmy, the brother we support here with You Can't Give. When he goes to these third world countries, he has to get a certain level of vaccinations before he goes into these countries. So uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, check your facts. I'll leave it at that. I'll check your facts. So, on that note, God first said, good morning, good Monday morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
That's the only comment we got. So, anyway, where we at on time? We still got a couple minutes. If you guys got any final on this, or
Um, well, some, I believe like when it comes to the social contract, like meaning if you need to take a vaccine so you won't contain like to be deadly when you're around other people, you have to be aware, that there is that social contract. A lot of people forget and be like, well, I don't want the vaccine, I don't want the vaccine. But now if um the ones that didn't took the vaccine, you know, at first they wanted people to wear masks still, you know?
right? They want us to wear a mask to protect them, but they don't want to get the vaccination to protect themselves.
Yeah. And there's
Right.
a thin line there, some should be required, and there should be some that have, that you are able to have a choice, you
Well,
know?
I okay. Well, I say this: I don't like wearing a mask, so that's another reason I get the vaccination. How about we
Yeah, but I'm
flip the
not talking
script?
about that one. I'm talking about
Right.
other vaccines, not those ones that are going to save lives for that type of pandemic. I'm talking about more of the regular vaccines that you go through when you grow up. I know some
Yeah,
parents,
polio, chicken pox, mumps, all of that.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and
But
sometimes you have uh reactions to it. I had a one of my children reacted bad to a vaccine. It was a shot that was required. And he had like allergic reaction. So so you got to be aware. And sometimes they want to jab your kids with like six, five shots in one. I don't really like to do that. I like to ease on in.
space them out.
Yes,
Right.
yes. You
And a
Well, I
know?
lot
mean,
of them,
again, like me and Carol talked about, we both got scars on our arm from where they hit us
yeah,
with the gun. It had at least 5 needles at one time.
at one
Hmm.
time. That's
Well,
right.
I'd rather, yeah, instead of my children getting it at school, I'd rather them go to the doctor where it's more sanitary and stuff like that, you
Well,
know?
I agree that. I mean, now my kids, when we took ours all to the doctor, they had to go,
Mm-hmm.
to their primary care doctor, get their shots. They had to, sign their card or whatever, right? And then we take the card back to the school as proof that they got their vaccinations and then they were enrolled for the next year,
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah.
So
And
I'm
and
with
like
all that.
And like for me, I mean, as an adult, I'd never taken the flu shots, but it was a requirement in order to stay on my job of employment. So that's when I first had to take the flu shot. Um, in order to keep my job because it
Right.
was mandatory. But, didn't if I wasn't forced to do that, I probably, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it now because, that along with shingles. I'd never wanted to take shingles, but now that I'm of a certain age and I can't see, of course, I'm
Man, I'm
whatever's
getting all
available,
that
I'm taking it. I'm taking it.
shingles, hepatitis,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So,
Me too. At this point, I'm taking it all.
whatever.
If
Okay. So,
right.
all right.
But
Well, I mean, again, vaccinations, check your facts. You know what I'm saying? Listen to what Pedro's saying. I mean, maybe it might be a wise thing to maybe do a workup on your kids to find out different things that they potentially could be allergic to, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
so that way you just have that background information when they get ready to do certain vaccines or whatever, right?
Yes.
It just makes sense, in my
and,
opinion.
and
So,
and a lot of them will tell you if you're allergic to eggs, you can't take this shot. So some of them will let you know certain
I'm,
things that you're allergic
uh,
to. You're not going to
yeah.
be able to take this shot based on this or that.
Mm-hmm.
right. But that's why it's good to know what you're allergic to.
That's
Yeah.
A
true.
lot of times with kids, you don't know
You're
until
right.
there's some sort of a reaction. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
Yes,
saying?
yes. So it's good to test yourself for any uh um allergies that you might have and stuff like that. To be aware, be on your record also,
Right.
you know. But
Yeah.
that's all.
So, yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into these promos and then we'll get into the next article.
If you'd like to know more about Blind United, you can visit our website at blindunited.org. You can email us at info@blindunited.org. You can call us at 909-846-8825. You can follow us on Instagram at Blind United Interest Groups. You can follow us on X at Blind United 22. You can watch our YouTube channel, Blind United. You could join our Facebook group, Blind United Interest Groups, or you can follow our Facebook page, Blind United. You can go to customcane.com. That's custom with a K, guys. And what Custom Cane does is they sell cane and cane accessories. It's like Burger King. You can have it your way. You can get a pink cane, a blue cane, a rainbow cane, a Broncos cane, a Chargers cane, a cane with the Braille alphabet, a cane with your name on it. Whatever you want, whatever type of handle you want, whatever type of tip you want. If you want an aircraft aluminum cane, if you want an all-terrain cane, telescoping cane, any type of cane, Custom Cane has it.
All right. Again, a little quick side note for those that may not know, Jimmy, I get all my canes from him, of course. But anyway, all proceeds from Custom Cane, when you buy whatever it be, a cane or an accessory, whatever the case may be, all proceeds from those sales goes to his foundation. You can give initiative, youcangive.org. And he gives canes to folks in third world countries. So whether you want to donate a cane or you just want to buy yourself a new cane, then you can send him your old cane. He would appreciate it. So anyway, Tisha says, good morning. And thank you for letting us know about the measles thing. Of course, Tisha, that's what we do here. And also thank you for coming out and hanging out with us this weekend on Saturday. It was good spending time with you in Anaheim and you and your son, Jay On. So we appreciated having you guys out there. So this next one, if I remember right, Pedro, isn't this one about the cop, or is this the one about the
Rising
medical?
drug prices.
Oh, okay. So, well, again, so people don't realize, and then here we go. I'm sticking my toes in this pool for a minute. All these tariffs that are being imposed, uh, they don't realize not all of our drugs are made here in the United States. A lot of drugs that people have to have on a daily basis are made from out of the country. And a lot of these tariffs are affecting these drug prices. If it's not the actual drug itself, it could be the components that are needed to make up whatever drug you may need. So anyway, check this out and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Coffee Time crew. Prescription drug in the U.S. have long been a hot-button issue, and under the current Trump administration, new policies are once again shaping how much Americans pay at the pharmacy. From reversing cost-saving legislation to imposing tariffs that ripple through the pharmaceutical supply chain, these changes may have far-reaching effects on drug affordability and access. Let's break down what's happening, what it means for consumers, and the broader implications for healthcare in 2025. 1. Undoing Medicare's power to negotiate. One of the most significant shifts came with the reversal of a key provision in the Inflation Reduction Act, IRA, a landmark 2022 law that allowed Medicare to negotiate the prices of high-cost prescription drugs. The idea was simple: give Medicare some bargaining power to bring down costs for seniors. But in early 2025, President Trump issued executive orders effectively rolling back this authority, citing concerns about government overreach and pharmaceutical innovation. Without the ability to negotiate, Medicare is now left in a weaker position, unable to push for better prices on behalf of millions of beneficiaries. The long-term result? Higher out-of-pocket costs for seniors and reduced pressure on drug companies to keep prices in check. 2. Trade tariffs and the cost of medicine. Another major development is the administration's continued use of trade tariffs, this time targeting imports from major trading partners like China, Canada, and Mexico. These countries are not only economic allies, but also crucial suppliers of pharmaceuticals and raw materials used to produce common medications. With tariffs as high as 25% now applied to some pharmaceutical goods, the goal is to tackle broader geopolitical issues like illegal immigration and drug trafficking. However, these measures could have unintended consequences for consumers. Higher production costs for U.S. drug manufacturers, rising prices on imported medications, delays or shortages in drug availability. While these policies may serve larger political aims, they also risk making critical medications less affordable, especially for patients with chronic conditions who rely on consistent access to prescription drugs. 3. Slower price increases, but still climbing. On the surface, there's a small silver lining. Drug makers are showing some restraint in raising prices. At the start of 2025, more than 800 medications saw a median price increase of 4%, slightly below the 4.5% rise seen in early 2024. Why the caution? Many industry analysts believe companies are trying to avoid drawing fire from an administration that's been quick to criticize big pharma in the past, even while pursuing policies that favor market freedom over regulation. But make no mistake, 4% is still a price increase. And for patients with limited insurance or high deductibles, even modest hikes can translate into real hardship at the pharmacy counter. What does all this mean for you? Whether you're on Medicare, buying prescriptions out of pocket, or watching healthcare costs for your family, these developments touch just about everyone. Seniors may lose bargaining protections under Medicare. Consumers could see rising costs due to tariffs and supply chain disruptions. Price hikes, though slightly moderated, continue to chip away at affordability. These policies reflect a delicate balancing act between political ideology, economic strategy, and public health priorities. But for millions of Americans, the outcome is measured not in legislation, but in dollars and cents spent on life-saving medications. What do you think? Should Medicare have the power to negotiate drug prices? Are trade tariffs worth the potential increase in medication costs? And how should policymakers balance pharmaceutical innovation with the urgent need for affordability? Join the conversation and share your thoughts. Now back to the coffee time crew.
Wow. Again, I mean, this stuff is just crazy. You don't realize, you put this stuff out there, you say it's a way to punish the, importing country, but they're not paying the tariffs. It's the people that are actually doing the importing, the American companies that are getting with Mexico, getting with China, getting with Canada, wherever the case may be, and they're importing it. Okay, so they're the ones that have to pay the tariffs, and they're the ones that again can't absorb it, and they have to pass it on to us, the consumer. Uh, uh, Medicare, I mean, I believe, I don't know, but I think Medicare might be actually the largest medical provider in the United States, right? Uh, Meaning that, I mean, again, how many people are on Medicare? Anybody that's on Social Security, that's for sure, right?
Right.
A lot of people on Medicare have what they call a Part B prescription plan, right? So that means that our prescription plans, our drugs get paid for a lot of times by the state, right? So now you're now actually costing the states more money because of these prices going up. Of course, there's a lot of people out there that's paying for their drugs out of pocket. A lot of people got plans where they have co-pays. A lot of people have plans where just certain drugs are not covered. And again, you're not doing nothing but hurting our folks, right? Uh, and here's the crazy part to me. Most drugs, we talking about big pharma, just like with COVID, right? We gave big pharma billions of dollars to rush and get us a COVID vaccine. Okay, that was just that instant because it was an emergency. But most drugs are created most of the time, believe it or not, in a lot of your major universities, especially, universities with hospitals and stuff like that, right? They get grants to work on certain things, right? Now, once they get the patent on the drug, they may sell it to big pharma, right? And now they get royalties on it. The college does, you know. There's not very many drugs out there that big pharma actually invest money into research and try to find, whatever, create a drug for this, drug for that. It comes from colleges and stuff like that, or it's subsidized from the government. Why are you worried about trying to negotiate prices with somebody that you're already paying for? We gave them all that money to create the COVID vaccine. Yes, it was given to us for free, but guess what? It wasn't free. Even though the government gave them the money to develop the drug, the big pharma then turned around and charged America per vaccine.
Yeah, the government they charge, and that tax money is our money that got into their pocket, so they double dip, as you can say. George Zavala said, "Good morning, my Blind United family. Happy Monday." Um, Tisha said, "You're welcome, Ed. We are certainly enjoying ourselves," and that's it for now.
Okay. Okay. So, anyway, I mean, that's my take on it. Again, this is not hurting anybody but American people. This is not doing anything to lower any prices as promised from day one.
Right.
So anyway, I'm gonna get my toes out of the pool and let y'all comment. And then Carol, what you got to say about all this?
I mean, to me, it's just blowing smoke. I mean, it's so many people that they don't realize, hey, it's going to make people go to the hospital. If you're not getting your medication, you're going to have more sick people, because if they can't afford it, they're going to have to go to the hospital, because it's going to be some form of consequence based on them not taking certain medications that are chronic for their health. So
Hmm.
I'm just not understanding why this is such a big issue, that if it's not broke, don't fix it, leave it alone, you know? Because some of these, like you're saying, like Pedro was saying, and you too, Ed, I mean, they had to spend money for the COVID vaccine. Yes, it is free for us, but just think, we had to take more than one dose, and we're still taking it. It's not one, two, it's like we have to take a shot every year. That costs
Well, the
them.
corruption comes in, like I said, Carol. We gave them the money to develop the vaccine, and
Hmm.
then they turn around and charge the government, the
The
taxpayers,
government.
Hmm.
Right,
okay,
But
per vaccine.
yeah,
right.
yeah, and
So we're
besides
still
just
paying for
yeah, and just
Uh,
besides the vaccine too, when it comes to policy and stuff, the last administration did a little bit, even though I wanted them to do more. They had a list of 10 per year, I guess it was. They could have done way more, but this upcoming administration signed an executive order to take away that provision. So now the
right.
prices went back to normal. So,
So I mean, not trying to defend the previous administration, but that was bottom line all in the negotiation, right? Big Pharma was not willing to agree to let us negotiate all drug prices at one time. They said, okay, well now you can negotiate, five this year, and then they did another five another year, and so on and so forth, right? So
hmm,
that way it doesn't beat up on their pocket per se, right?
yes, and,
right.
and
But
that was the Build Back Better. It was going to give us more than 10, but we had two senators, Cinema and Joe Manchin, that blocked that. They didn't want this Build Back Better to pass. So if you live in those states, blame those two. Um,
exactly, exactly. I mean, again, and this is another reason, my opinion. Damn, I can't get my toes out this water.
mhm,
We got to we got to get money out of politics. I mean, somewhere down the road, somewhere, those politicians, if you follow the money trail, whatever, I promise you, you're going to find some money from whatever corporation
mhm.
that behind those companies,
And the
those big
Yeah,
majority
pharma
of
companies.
them are rich. I mean, the
You
majority of the
know,
politicians are
I
rich,
mean,
so they
how
don't
many
have to worry
people,
about it.
right? How many politicians go in as a congressperson or whatever? You know what I'm saying? And they
Right.
broke, and then after 4, 8, 10 years, whatever the case may be, they leave and they're millionaires.
That's right. That's
But
right.
they only get paid a couple hundred grand a year for being a congressman.
Right.
Okay, so I mean,
it's the
again,
legalized corruption.
exactly. That's why we got to get money out of politics. So,
Agree.
but again, this stuff is not helping anyone.
No.
It's
And it's
not.
forcing a lot of people to go to holistic type of treatments, to
Yeah.
where
Well.
everything is from the earth and not, synthetic, like they're
Hmm.
forced to be told to take, because
Well,
they
I
Yeah.
can't
mean,
afford it.
But even
now,
seniors are budgeting and cutting their medication in half, not
Right.
taking insulin just so they can have more of the medication.
I
right.
It's
Well,
agree.
kind
and
of
and
sad.
that was the reason for in the reduction thing where they wanted to do all that negotiating for drug prices because that stuff has been going on for years. You
Yes.
know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
example is the insulin. You can make it $35. You can make it right, but they
Right.
want to upcharge you. For
Right.
like a dose, $1,000 for one of them pins. You know.
Well, look at what we were talking about the other day, just with the sleep apnea. I forget who we were talking to, right? Not
Hmm.
sleep apnea, but the 924 thing. Uh, uh, it,
Dominique,
okay, well, yeah, it was one of the conversations we had within our
social
last week.
group.
Matter of fact, it was actually last week. So yeah, uh, But anyway, $1,500 a dose. Okay, $1,500 a pill just to get a good night's sleep. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
crazy.
It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? You get 30 pills. What's that? You know what I mean? It's
Right.
crazy.
It's
So,
crazy.
I mean, I might have the number wrong, but it's bottom line. It's an outrageous number, and
That was like
it shouldn't be allowed.
15,000. It was 15,000 a month, 500 a pill.
Something like that. Something
Yeah,
like that. You know. But again, that's a lot. That's a
it is.
lot. You know, and it doesn't really have to be that way. I mean, again, you know, I'm all about single payer healthcare here. You know what I'm saying? Just like all the rest of the civilized world, you know, but because we're a capitalistic society, we let these folks just get away with basically highway robbery. You know, so anyway, it's crazy out there, y'all. We got 9:41, so let's jump into these last two promos, and then I'll check the comments while Pedro's playing them. Did you know Blind United offers free training in assistive technology? We call them interest groups. We offer training in JAWS, NVDA, iPhone, iPad, as well as Meta Ray-Bans. We also have groups like support group, cooking groups, and crafting groups. There are also groups for entertainment like movie night and RS game night. For more information about all the interest groups that we offer, just email us at info@blindunited.org or visit our Facebook group, Blind United Interest Group. We would love to have you be part of the Blind United crew.
Hustling jingles, $10 a shots. Birthday beats and holiday knocks. Gotcha covered for the ones you love. Personalized joy like a custom glove. Get your jingle hot and fresh. info@blindunited.org. $10 only, no more, no less. We make memories you can't afford. Got a catchy tune for your babe. Poppin' beats like dreams we crave. For Mama's Day or Papa's cheer, let's make smiles from ear to ear. Get your jingle hot and fresh. info@blindunited.org. $10 only, no more, no less. We make memories you can't afford.
All right. Well, there's nothing new in the comments, but also, folks, these jingles are really, really cool. I bought 4 for my girls for Valentine's Day. They all love them. They've set them as ringtones, so now when Daddy calls, their jingle plays. So I think that's really, really cool. You know, I mean, we do it for all whatever occasion. You guys just today's St. Patty's Day, by the way. So hopefully everybody's got their green on for the day, at least a piece of green somewhere. Only green I got is folded in my pocket.
Me too.
But anyway, I mean, again, you know, we got Mother's Day coming up. We got, you know, Easter. It doesn't have to be just an official holiday. It could be, you know, a graduation. Somebody got a promotion on the job. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe one of your kids got all A's on a report card. I don't know. Bottom line, we can work out a jingle for you, something that's a memory that they can hold on to and listen to time and time and time again. So, okay, don't forget to check us out on that stuff. So, on this last article, it's nothing new. It's been in the news many, many, many times. We really need to do some serious retraining of our law enforcement. They just simply have a problem interacting with folks with disabilities. So check this out, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Coffee Time Crew. Today we're tackling a deeply troubling issue, law enforcement misconduct involving individuals with disabilities and vulnerable populations. Across several states, there have been alarming cases where sheriff's deputies were terminated and, in some instances, criminally charged for assaulting civilians, including those with disabilities. These stories are not only heartbreaking, they raise serious questions about training, accountability, and systemic reform. 1. Hillsborough County, Florida, 2008, a quadriplegic dumped from his wheelchair. Back in January 2008, security footage from a detention facility showed a deputy violently dumping Brian Sterner, a quadriplegic, from his wheelchair during a booking process for a traffic violation. The video sparked national outrage. The deputy resigned and was charged with felony abuse. Other deputies received suspensions. A supervisor was terminated for failing to report the incident. This incident revealed the lack of disability awareness and basic human decency within parts of the justice system. 2. Frederick County, Maryland, 2013, the death of Ethan Saylor. Ethan Saylor, a 26-year-old man with Down, went to see a movie and never came home. When he refused to leave the theater after a screening, 3 off-duty deputies, Lieutenant Scott Jewell, Sergeant Rich Rockford, and Deputy First Class James Harris, attempted to forcibly remove him. Saylor was restrained face down and died of asphyxiation. A grand jury declined to indict the deputies. The Department of Justice launched a civil rights investigation, recognizing the case as a potential violation of federal protections for people with disabilities. The tragedy ignited calls for better training on developmental disabilities within law enforcement. 3. Los Angeles County, California, 2023, assault and a cover-up. Deputy Joseph Benza III pursued and assaulted Emmett Brock, a transgender man, simply because Brock made a rude hand gesture. The incident resulted in significant injuries and exposed deeper issues within the sheriff's department. Benza pleaded guilty to federal civil rights violations. 8 additional deputies were terminated for participating in the assault or trying to cover it up. This case shows how abuse of power and attempts to hide misconduct can create lasting trauma for victims and destroy public trust. 4. Behar County, Texas, 2024, provoking and attacking an inmate. In 2024, Deputy David Mauricio Dominguez instigated a physical altercation with inmate Ruben Cameron, causing injury. Dominguez then tried to tamper with evidence by altering Cameron's uniform and bed linens to conceal the extent of the incident. Dominguez was terminated and arrested. He faces multiple charges, including official oppression, assault, and evidence tampering. This case further emphasizes the importance of transparency and proper oversight in detention facilities. Why this matters? These are not isolated incidents. They reflect systemic failures in how some law enforcement agencies handle individuals who are disabled, marginalized, or vulnerable. They also highlight the need for comprehensive training, the importance of accountability, and the urgency of reform. Each of these victims deserved to be treated with dignity and respect. Instead, they were met with force, negligence, or outright abuse. What do you think? Should law enforcement agencies implement stricter screening and training procedures to protect vulnerable individuals? What role should community oversight play in holding officers accountable? How can we ensure justice for those who are too often ignored or mistreated? Join the conversation and share your thoughts. Now back to the Coffee Time crew.
Well, there's a whole lot of systemic stuff going on in this article. I mean, again, this is nothing new. This kind of stuff has been going on for a very, very long time. I mean, I know cases of, deaf people being abused because the officer came up to the car, and I mean, I remember an incident where he literally had a sign on his door that I'm deaf, I can't hear you. But yet this man was abused, right? Simply because he wasn't complying to the law officer, the officer, but he couldn't hear what the officer was trying to tell him, So The sad part is, although the article features all cases where people were suspended and fired and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, as far as my concern, that first lady, when she dumped that quadriplegic out of his wheelchair, I would not have let her resign. They let that woman resign so she can hold on to her pension.
Mm.
Okay, no, I'd have fired her ass. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but I'd have fired her ass. Okay, uh, for every case that we see like this in the news, where we can point to where people were fired or whatever the case may be, trust me, there's at least 5, 10 more cases that go undocumented, covered up, whatever the case may be. Okay, there has to be a change within our law enforcement system. I mean, I'm sorry, internal affairs doesn't work. How you gonna have the police policing the police? They used
Right.
to be on the beat, okay? They're still part of that, that thin blue line thing. They're the brotherhood of law enforcement or whatever the case may be, right? We need an outside review board. To look over this stuff. We cannot continue to let internal affairs make these decisions on the discipline and what should happen with these offending officers. Training, of course, we always need more training. uh, uh, they need to know how to interact with people. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be us as blind folks, or somebody may just be in a wheelchair for whatever. But then, like, oh boy, he's a quadriplegic. Well, how that man gonna hurt you? He can't move his arms. He can't move his legs. He's lucky he can move his head. He's lucky he can talk. And you gonna dump him out on the floor? You know what I'm saying? This other man, he's got a mental thing going on. Something happened in the movie, triggered him, whatever. Now you're gonna put him on the floor and pin him down and smother him to death? Come on, man. No, it doesn't make sense. All of this stuff does not make sense, and we should not, as American citizens, we should not stand by and allow our law enforcement to be able to treat us this way. We are not in prison. We are free Americans. We have rights, and we should be treated with respect. Our tax dollars pay for their salaries, all of that. So, again, we need to have a lot of changes within our law enforcement system. So, anyway, that's my take on it.
I agree with what you're saying. I mean, the police, and I'm not saying that all police are bad. They tell us, see something, say something. Well, if a cop sees another cop doing something, they should be able to do the same thing. Speak out on it. If you see something, say something. Thank you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I agree with that. I mean, it's wrong to allow and I understand everybody has a stressful job, but you can kind of pick a bad apple, and there are some wonderful cops that are out there
A
that you can
whole lot of
see.
them. A whole
You
lot of them.
Yes, but you can see bad apples when they're out there. I mean,
But the problem is the good cops, because of that brotherhood, because of that thin blue line thing, they don't speak out against the bad ones.
that's true.
And
That's
that
true.
that part needs to change. If we
It
want to
does.
have a law enforcement element within the United States that respects us as citizens, as humans, then there has to be that change. There
I
definitely has
agree.
to be that change.
I agree.
So but yeah, this is some crazy stuff, man. What you got, Pedro? Because I know you like me, dog. We grew up, per se in the hood, and we've seen a lot of police abuse. At least I have throughout my entire life. So it's just sad.
Yeah, it is. It is sad. The way the police approaches nowadays. Um, I have a lot of thoughts on that, and it goes back to the change of strategy. I believe like 5, 12 to 15 years ago. Before they will give chase and stuff like that when it comes to more drastic measures and stuff like that, right? But it seems
Okay.
now they go from 0 to 100 real quick. I don't know if I know that type of work is stressful, you know. Um, I believe they should be able to have somebody they can talk to that it's outside the police station, so it won't affect their work, but someone to talk to take off the stress,
Right.
you know, to also to make sure that their home and things like that are in order, because sometimes people, what affects them in their personal life, they could bring it to their shift, and it could affect people that they are stopping, you know. And then when it comes to mentally disabled people or disabled people, we do need a crisis line and a response team, you know, probably with one person or officer that might have a deadly weapon, but that should always be the last take. There's rubber bullets, there's tasers, but that aside, this needs to be a response for people that have mentally illness and might need someone that could calm them down, to sit them down. You know what I mean? Instead of going in full force, aggressiveness, and then some incident happens and a bystander, not a bystander, but the subject gets shot, and then the family is having a turmoil because of one of their family members that's mentally ill just, you know, died. And you know, it could be avoided, you know. It might cost a little more to put in our state budget or county budgets, but it is something that should be looked at across you know, across the United States, you
Of
know.
course, of course. Um, I mean, again, it's crazy, man. I mean, again, if the officers themselves, they number one, they should be trained enough to at least identify somebody that very possibly could have a mental condition, right? Of
Right.
course, other disabilities, they're physical, you can see them. That's why I said there's no excuse for what that woman did to that quadriplegic by dumping him out that chair.
Right.
Uh, uh, you know, but again, identifying somebody that has a mental illness. Now, if you're not equipped to deal with that, then like Pedro says, okay, you got somebody to call. There's a mental health department in every state. There's generally in every county, whatever, right?
Right.
Call them up. Like, look, I got somebody down there. I think he really has a serious mental issue. Yada yada yada. We need you to get somebody down here right away. You know what I'm saying? And then
Right.
get somebody down there that's equipped and knows how to interact with folks and how to bring them down off the ledge. You can't just manhandle people. You can't just go all in and turn into a straight up tyrant and do whatever. You don't know what other conditions this person has. Like oh boy, from the movie theater. How do you know this kid didn't have a respiratory illness? There's a
Right.
lot of they've done that already. There's been many cases where they've had tackled somebody that had a respiratory issue, and then they end up dying. You know, so again, there's a lot that can be done. There's a lot that needs to be changed. Again, but at the same time, because of so many of the cases I say that are getting away with it because of internal affairs, we need to quit allowing the police to police themselves. It's not going to happen. It's just no, it's not going to work. So that's my take on it anyway. But I don't. We don't have any new comments down here. So
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we had an incident down here in Texas where the police had come out several times, and this individual, he was mentally, disturbed. He came out of the house yelling, screaming with a bat, but they sent like 6 police with guns, and they're trying to call him down off the ledge. And as he comes and approaches them with a bat, of course, they shoot and they kill him. But the fact of the matter is, you knew this guy had a mental ailment, and they made them aware of it, but still everybody's emptying their revolver
Well,
with this
I mean, again,
gentleman.
there's been many cases, even when there was a guy that came to help or somebody that was mentally ill, right?
Right.
He was a caregiver. He ended up getting shot, you know.
Wow.
But if you want to see the attitude of a lot of police in today's world, I recommend to go and look up some of these First Amendment auditors. I mean, I don't get into all of them. Some of them actually go out there with the intent to aggravate, but there's some really good ones out there, and they just go out there and they just film life as it happens, right?
Right.
And then you'll see there's a lot of cops that are, I mean, I love the fact that they highlight the good ones, but there's a lot of cops that come in and they instantly escalate. They don't de-escalate. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Well, they need to learn how to de-escalate to, for public safety, but instead they want to escalate, manhandle people, throw them down, do harm to them, whatever. It's crazy. So, on that note, again, we are at the end of our time. So, Carol, Pedro, I appreciate both of y'all. As always, Blind United, we appreciate all of those that come in and comment, as well as, all of those that have followed. If you haven't followed the page, please do. If you're if you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, hit that notification. As always, comment, share, everything helps. So until tomorrow morning, I want everybody to enjoy the rest of their day, and we'll talk to you folks again tomorrow. Have a great day.